The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. It's March. A lot of great programming this week, including today. Let's get right into it. We talk very often about kind of the inherent hypocrisy, or not even really hypocrisy, just kind of the nonsense, the lack of logic in so many conservatives pushing abstinence-only education and reducing access to birth control and then complaining that there's too many abortions. Of course, we know, well, what would decrease the number of abortions? Less people getting pregnant in the first place. And the way you do that is, of course, not to teach abstinence-only sex education and not to reduce access to birth control. That we've covered many times, have we not?
Right. Well documented, well known. We've covered it many times, yes.
Glad you agree.
Yeah.
So what's been going on in Texas? Because now we are now starting to see everything coming off of the walls and states really having significant problems with this that now they are starting to have to backtrack from. Here's an example. Back in 2011, Texas had, of course, a fiscal crunch. So the Texas state legislature cut the state's family planning budget by 2/3, by about 66%. And some lawmakers said that what they were doing by doing this was defunding the abortion industry. Now, that's a loaded term in and of itself. Of course, there was the abortion industry suggesting that abortions, unlike any other medical procedure which is paid for,
A for-profit industry.
is a for-profit, whereas any other medical procedure, even if it does make money, whether or not it's in a for-profit or not-for-profit venue, is not designed for profit. Abortions are unique in that case. So
Right.
we understand that term, don't we?
We do.
So what happened? Researchers at the University of Texas at Austin found that more than 50 family planning clinics closed across the state as a result of these cuts. So now what's going on? I think we all know what's going on. I think it's any logical, clear-thinking individual would know what's going on. Now there are estimates that the cuts could lead to 24,000 additional births between 2014 and 2015 at a taxpayer cost of $273 million. So what's going on now? Lawmakers are trying to restore the financing to those family planning clinics without ruffling the feathers of extremist right-wing conservatives. Very clearly here, we have conservative religious values getting in the way of needed funding based on science and medical research to prevent pregnancies.
Right.
Anybody surprised?
Nope.
You know, at least they realize what's happening here and are willing to try and do something about it without, instead of just sacrificing the well-being of their people for their religious ideals.
We basically have now people scrambling for a solution, right? Republican state senators have proposed adding $100 million to a state-run primary care program specifically for women's health services because it's not technically family planning, right? If they put the money into family planning per se, people would flip out, right? Religious conservatives would go nuts. So instead, it's primary care, which is focused on so-called women's health services. It's basically more or less all the same thing. This cannot continue. We cannot keep having health issue after health issue, unwanted pregnancies, the cost. The fiscally conservative thing is to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies. That and the religious conservative thing to do would be to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies. On the fiscal side, because it reduces cost, and on the social side, because it reduces abortions. Conservatives seem more or less unwilling to do so. At least in Texas here, we see, kind of for the wrong reasons, but
yeah,
it still makes sense, doing something that makes more sense.
Right. Well, there's something really powerful in the way, and that's called stupidity.
Right, there is.
Yeah.
Stupidity and dogma seems to be what's in the way here. We've often talked on this program about whether a white pride group is inherently racist. We now have a different type of group. We have a heterosexual pride group, and the question is, are heterosexual pride groups anti-gay? Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center has done, they look at a lot of these different groups. And there's an interesting article on their website, splcenter.org, about a specific heterosexual pride group. It's a Facebook-based group. They have a Facebook page called Heterosexual Awareness Month, right? Now, back in June of 2012, the group was created to, quote, celebrate heterosexuality. The page administrators, who are anonymous, one does go by the name Dr. Ham, I guess stands for Heterosexual Awareness Month, saying that the page's mission is to, quote, educate the world, commemorate our heritage, celebrate our culture, and liberate our people. So at face value, before we get into the specifics of what's been posted, is a heterosexual pride group anti-gay by its very nature?
Would it be automatically? No.
Natan, what do you think?
It's hard to answer. In practice, it is. As it is that way because the only thing that will make someone identify with being white as a category is being an oppressor. The only thing that white people have ever been identified for as a group of white people is oppressing people of color. So in that sense, it's very hard to believe that you could do that without identifying with the oppression.
Okay, so a couple of different opinions
I mean,
there.
let me be clear. I mean, anytime there is a heterosexual pride group, it's going to be anti-gay.
But you don't think that it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to
but
be.
But in practice, they are.
It's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I kind of disagree with that.
Okay, Natan.
Well, the reason why you have, gay pride, Black History Month, women's pride, women's lib movements, the reason why you have it and people identify in that way to have pride is because they're oppressed. I mean, that's the reason why they have pride.
An oppressed minority.
To have pride in being white is essentially to say that you're proud that you are privileged above everyone else.
What if it was a white pride group in a country where whites are not the majority?
Name one. Name one, not where they're not the majority, but where they're oppressed because they're white.
Okay. Well, it's just. But so you're saying Lewis's example is not good because heterosexuals have never been oppressed.
Correct.
Okay. Now I want to get to this, which is now we have more information about this group. We have started to see on the Heterosexual Awareness Month page, we started to see comments about the, quote, gay agenda. We have started to see baseless links between homosexuality and pedophilia. We've seen photoshopped images of gay pride marchers with signs they are holding altered to read, "My butt hurts," and one comparing the, quote, fertile garden of heterosexuality to a toxic waste zone of homosexuality. So we now are very clear that this particular group, which was supposedly just a group about heterosexual awareness, is an anti-gay group. And now the image we have up on the screen, they put out this graphic recognizing hate symbols, and next to the Nazi swastika, they have the so-called hate symbol of the pride flag, the equality rainbow, call it what you will.
Right.
So it's very clear, I think, what's going on with this group, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I mean, just knowing how people act and how people think,
Yeah.
Any white pride group or heterosexual pride group is sadly going to be anti-gay, non-white.
The thing to me is, let's say you can be, let's just assume for a second, okay, that you can have pride around being straight, right? In the same way that somebody can be prideful of being gay. Let's assume there is such a thing as just honest, straight pride, okay? The idea that you feel a necessity to create a group around it and to create messaging around it is a red flag to me. It's hard for me. To me, it's almost, I understand that these are people that are doing incredible damage and being very, very hateful. But in a way, it's almost sad to me to spend your time making Facebook pages saying, I'm proud of being heterosexual. Just live your heterosexual life, but forget about making pages about it.
Pride when it comes to things like that is interesting because, as we feel that racism should not exist, xenophobia should not exist, I don't really think pride should either because you're being proud of something that you never had any control over either.
Right. Well, maybe they think that they do, right? Maybe they think it's a choice.
Well,
maybe this group thinks. Anyway,
who knows?
That's kind of another issue.
Yeah.
Strange stuff. Another Texas story. Texas teen Brenda Brinsden is suing her school over the right not to recite the Mexican national anthem. What is this about? It's an unusual story. So this student, through her father, has filed a lawsuit against her school district because she believes she was punished for refusing to recite the Mexican national anthem and pledge in her Spanish class. And she says reciting pledges to Mexico and being loyal to it has nothing to do with learning Spanish. Okay. Well, what exactly went on here? So Brinsden, who was then 15, and other sophomore students in her Spanish class were given an assignment that required them to recite the Mexican national anthem and pledge individually in front of the class, of course, in Spanish. And this student's gut reaction was to refuse, and her father is agreeing, saying that reciting the pledge to another country has absolutely no place in a public school. So the teacher at the name of the school is Achieve Early College High School in McAllen, Texas, then gave the student an alternative assignment to reciting this, which was writing an essay on the history of the Mexican Revolution. Now, she failed. She received a failing grade for that alternative assignment. And it's worth noting that Brinston is fluent in Spanish and speaks it regularly with her mother, who immigrated to the U.S. from Mexico. And this is part of the lawsuit, part of the facts in the lawsuit. So the lawsuit says that her constitutional right to freedom of speech and equal protection was violated, and that the school district has a policy to excuse students from saying the American Pledge of Allegiance if they object, but doesn't excuse students who refuse to pledge to another nation. Now, I read through this. If this were actually, you must pledge loyalty to Mexico or be banished from the school, that would be one thing. But it appears that this was an assignment that was given in the class, presumably in Texas. An overwhelming majority of the Hispanic population is Mexican in origin. So the idea was, this is how you learn some Spanish, okay? You're going to recite this thing. And it doesn't even sound like she was forced. This was an assignment that was given, like any other assignment. She protested the assignment. She opted not to do it. She was given an alternative assignment, and then she failed that subsequent assignment. Now, she says she failed the assignment because she wasn't allowed to attend class, and because of the lawsuit, and had to sit in the principal's office or in study hall or something like that. Fine, we can look at that specifically. But to say she was forced, Natan, seems a little bit overboard to me.
Well, now we're getting into the weeds of the specific case. I mean, either she was given an alternate assignment and treated fairly and allowed to do it, and she just didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Or she was discriminated against. And if that's right, I would probably agree with her. It'll just come down to the details in the case.
It will, Lewis, right? Because it is, if the failing grade was because she was a troublemaker and she didn't want to do this, then we have a problem. But to say that she was forced, she didn't do it, and she was given an alternate assignment. So the term forced seems overboard.
Yeah, it seems like forced is the wrong word. But if we speak generally about things like this, I mean, if you are learning, if that happens to be the text that you go over when learning Spanish,
sure,
I guess that's okay. I mean, what if you were learning...
well, this is what I was going to say. I think the Spanish and Hispanic immigrant thing is being stigmatized and singled out, because in our French class, if there was an assignment to learn the French national anthem and then to say it in class in middle school or high school where we had French, or some other, what in France might be considered some kind of patriotic French song, I don't think anybody would have raised any eyebrows. I think this is being singled out because of the hot button issue of immigration from Mexico.
And what if there was a class in Hebrew and what you were what the students were told is a learning text for that was the Old Testament?
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, what's that, Natan?
Suppose one of us found ourselves in a Hebrew class, in an Arabic class, and as an assignment we had to say the Saudi Arabian anthem or anything along those lines. I don't know that we would, be okay with that being a class assignment that we weren't allowed to opt out of.
Yeah.
Right. No,
or if the Hebrew class you read the Torah, I mean, which is common, of course, if you're in Hebrew school. But
right. We will follow the specifics of this case and see what happens. I'm curious to know your thoughts about it. Today's book recommendation, made possible in part by A Fashion of Bastards by Joanna Louise Johnson. This is the best-selling satire involving the bizarre world of Washington's power players and their outrageous misuse of America's most precious natural resources. Find it on Amazon.com. It gives me great pleasure today to recommend one of my, I don't know if I'd say one of my favorite all-time books, but certainly within the genre, one of my favorite books, Fantastic Voyage by Isaac Asimov. This is a fantastic book. I forget exactly what year it's from. I believe it's from the 1960s. It is the story of a group of individuals who are shrunk down to the size that then they can enter the bloodstream of an individual to resolve a physical, medical condition. And it is absolutely a classic, one of Asimov's classics. Lewis, have you seen the movie?
A long time ago.
Yeah, Natan, give us some background on the movie. I forget who's in it.
That's one of the old classics that I haven't seen.
You haven't seen it? Very good. Well, I guess we're not going to be able to go into the details of that necessarily. No. But this is an absolutely fantastic book, and I will repeat the name of it. Some people saying I talk about the book and then they like it, but I haven't reminded them of the name and then they've forgotten what it is. So I will say again, the book I am recommending is Fantastic Voyage by Isaac Asimov. It's a quick read. It is one of the classic science fiction novels. I highly recommend it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Lewis, for being here today.
Very good.
Today's bonus show, big time bonus show today. A fight club is uncovered in a public school. Also, Dennis Rodman, former NBA basketball player, goes to North Korea. And he seems to just love hanging out with the family. What do we even call them? Not the royal family.
The
dictators.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the dictatorial family. And also a very bizarre solution to cosmic ray problems for space travelers involving bathroom humor. But that's really the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it's real.
Please sign up for membership. You'll get the bonus show and a bunch of other great benefits. You go to our website, davidpakman.com/membership. Take seconds to sign up, and you're doing a great thing to help the show.
Indeed.
We'll take a break. Coming up next, we will talk about, this is unbelievable. A New Hampshire Republican says that some people like abusive relationships, and a woman kills her kid because his penis was too small. Unbelievable. Stay with us. Back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
The David Pakman Show is made possible by you, our audience. If you do any shopping on Amazon.com, before shopping, go to our website, davidpakman.com. On the right side of the website, there's a banner which links you to Amazon. Bookmark that link, use it anytime you shop, and we'll get 7% of your purchase. Doesn't cost you anymore. It's a great way to support the show. Thousands of items back in February purchased through that link, and it's a big support to the program. You can also become a member made possible by liberalbias.com. Liberalbias.com shows you how to unskew uncomfortable facts so they'll fit nicely into your conservative worldview. Learn all the latest ways to unskew reality at liberalbias.com. Today's new member of the day, Don Kelly. Thanks, Don. Thank you for becoming a David Pakman Show member. You are making this program possible, as well as all of your other fellow David Pakman Show members.
Thank you.
Disturbing story out of Indonesia. A mother has killed her 9-year-old son for having a small penis. The woman drowned her 9-year-old son in the bathtub, according to police, saying that she was worried that his small penis would affect his prospects for the future. Not being alive will also, though, affect his prospects for the future. Apparently, the mother not making that connection, Lewis.
Right.
38-year-old woman from Jakarta told police her son had a small penis prior to being circumcised, but that it appeared to shrink even further after the operation, police spokeswoman Rikwanto said. She told police investigators that she killed him as he would have a bleak future with his small penis. She drowned her son in a bathtub filled with water, then dressed him and laid him on the bed, and then simply went to the police to report her crime. The woman seemed fully lucid and conscious about what she had done, but police, I guess smartly, ordered a psychological test to assess her mental condition. Doesn't drowning him in a bathtub kind of tell us a little bit of where she's at in her mental condition?
Yeah, I think it's pretty dire.
Imagine someone coming into the police station just completely lucid and calm and saying, listen, I know it's illegal, but I had to do it for my son. His penis was so small, he was going to have a lot of trouble in life. And so I drowned him, and I'm here. Whatever we need to do, let's do. But that's what I did.
Yeah, obviously, I think mental illness is at play here.
Yeah.
This is pretty unusual. This is not the type of thing you hear happening anywhere in the world.
You're right. Well, is that true? I mean, did you ever hear of a parent, like now that we're at the age where people we know have children, have you ever heard anyone say, I'm a little concerned about my son's penis size? It appears to be small.
No.
I've never heard it either.
No.
Natan, what do you make of this story?
Well, it's so grotesque that you have to laugh. Like, you can't take this seriously. I mean, this woman killed her son, completely killing off any future prospects of anything.
Yeah.
Because of an absurd, fantastical notion relating to his penis. I mean, what else can you say other than just laugh and shrug it off?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but someone has died here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Pretty messed up.
A New Hampshire Republican named Mark Warden has said that a lot of people like being in abusive relationships. Yeah, a lot of people like being in abusive relationships. Let's get a look at what he had to say. It's kind of hard to hear. The audio is not great. We'll turn it up as far as we can, and then we'll talk about it. Let's take a listen.
Specifically relates to domestic violence, so it's not too far off the specifics of this case. But this point is going to come up later today on other bills that we're going to discuss, so I say now. And some people can make the argument that a lot of people like being in abusive relationships.
Right.
Love-hate relationships. It's very, very common for people to stick around with somebody that they love, and who also abuses him or her. Right?
So this guy is so incompetent, and he really eventually. So first he says some people like being in abusive relationships, and then he says it's common that someone loves is abusing them. This is just such a grotesque misunderstanding. We know that there are many times when someone is in an abusive relationship and they stay in that relationship. That doesn't mean that they like being abused. There are so many factors, including the fact that people most likely to get into those types of relationships in the first place often have self-esteem issues, which are part of why they're in that relationship and part of why they don't leave, because they believe they'll never find anybody else because they have the low self-esteem, which is furthered by being abused. We have situations where people are, for many other reasons, continuing to come back to those types of situations, again, because of emotional factors that are going on. It seems grotesque, Lewis, to say some people just like being abused. It's that simple. Some people like being abused, and the context here is that there is a bill which would reduce penalties for simple assault. And the argument that Mark Warden is making is we should reduce penalties for simple assault because some people like being in abusive relationships. Disgusting stuff.
Yeah, if that's the best he can come up with, then clearly this is not a law that should be passed.
Right. He does make one good point, which is the abusers often do like being in abusive relationships where they are doing the abusing because it makes them feel powerful.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess it is
I
true.
doubt that's what he was talking
In
about.
a sense, Natan, he was saying something that's true, but I don't think that's really what he was talking about.
You mean that what he was saying was that Republican voters love voting for Republicans? I mean, this sounds like a typical libertarian, I hate to say it, New Hampshire is an awesome state, but this is a typical New Hampshire thing, libertarian thing where, hey, let's let everybody do whatever they want. They want to blow their heads off with fireworks? Sure, go ahead. You want to
punch someone in the face?
stay in an
It's
abusive
perfectly legal.
relationship and have no protection under the law? Hey, everybody can do whatever they want.
There is a grain of truth, if we really want to be honest with ourselves and our audience, about people liking abusive relationships, which is what else could we use to justify 29% of the population earning less than $50,000 a year and voting for Republicans? You must love abusive relationships if you continue to do that election after election.
Hey, this guy hit the nail on the head. His scale was just a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conservative group 1 Million Moms is accusing the Geico pig of bestiality. Addictinginfo.org is reporting. Remember this ad? I think it debuted during the Super Bowl. I may be wrong about that, but it's a new ad from Geico. Take a listen to this. It involves a pig on a date with a woman.
And done.
Did you just turn your ringer off so no one would interrupt us?
Oh no, I just used my Geico app to get a tow truck. It's gonna be here in 30 minutes.
Oh, so that means we won't be stuck up here for hours with nothing to do.
I get it. You wanna pass the time, huh?
Yeah. So 1 Million Moms is a conservative social group. They're very angry. They're saying that this is bestiality. They've also complained in the past when there was a Skittles commercial where somebody kissed a walrus or something like that. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And now it's this pig which has the moms in an uproar. They're really upset. They're saying this is just despicable. This is just very evil, Lewis. I mean, this is bestiality. That's it.
I don't know if any of these million people, of course, I doubt there's a million.
Well, the
involved.
Facebook page has 54,000.
Right.
So it's not quite a million, but
Right.
it's a million moms, right?
Right. Well, first I would recommend that they look up bestiality.
Right.
Just look up the definition. I mean, it might help.
That might serve as a good start.
Yeah, I think first of all they should understand the meaning of the word.
Right.
And then they should just look at a few other of the commercials that have this pig involved.
Yeah.
and realize what Geico is trying to do.
Next, the 1 million moms, who appear to be just 54,000 moms, are going to take on the disgusting interspecies relationships, ruining children's lives day in and day out on Sesame Street. Do you realize the dangers of Muppet human coitus?
David, I can't even think about it. I'll start bleeding out of the ears.
Democratic State Representative Ernest Hewitt was stripped of his leadership position as Deputy Speaker of the Connecticut House of Representatives after he was caught on tape making an inappropriate remark to a high school student testifying before a legislative committee. This high school student was talking about being shy and about working in some kind of program involving snakes. And then the lawmaker says, "I've got a snake sitting under my desk here."
He said, if you're bashful, I've got a snake under my desk here.
Let's take a listen to this. This is just audio. This is the initial testimony from the student. Take a listen to this.
Able to communicate with other people, because I'm usually a very shy person, and now I'm more outgoing. I like to just jump at any opportunity that I can get, and because of Science Center, they provide us with that skill. Not only there, but also at other places like school, and also outside of there as well. And during that time, I was able to discover that I really love working with children.
Right.
It was so much fun for me. I was
So does
able
this
to
guy.
teach little children about certain things, like the snakes that we have. I was able to share that with them, and the turtles that we have, which are amazing. And
Okay, so she's talking about the animals, and she's kind of a shy person, and then we get to this individual's comments. Take a listen to this.
Connecticut Science Center.
thank you.
Seems like a good investment for the state. Are there any questions? Yes, Representative Hewitt.
And if you're bashful, I got a snake sitting under my desk here.
But he said it in front of everybody.
What on earth is going on here? What is happening?
Did he really mean that?
The thing is, if he didn't, how stupid can you be? Because you know what? When he was asked to apologize, the apology is bizarre. He said, he meant to say, if you're shy, then I have an acre of land in the Everglades. If he meant to dissuade the idea that by a snake he was talking about his genitals, he should have said, whoa, people are way out of hand. Of course I didn't mean that. It was just a bad joke. It was misinterpreted. But instead he said he has an acre of land in the Everglades is what he meant. What the hell is going on here? This is just unbelievable. Lewis, if you're bashful, Representative Hewitt has a snake under his desk.
I can't imagine that he would have the
Yeah.
I can't imagine he would make that joke in front of all those people in that circumstance. I can't think of many people who would do that. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that he literally meant to say something else and it just came out horribly.
The other thing is he's completely inaccurate. Snakes don't even sit. At least make your creepy comments anatomically correct, you know? How could you have a snake sitting under your desk?
Well, what was he supposed to say?
Slithering.
Coiled?
Yeah, none of those would have helped, I think, the sexual connotations, implications.
Very strange stuff.
In any case, he's been stripped of his leadership position. I think the last thing we need to do is having this guy doing any kind of stripping of any kind.
It was done for him.
Facebook.com/David Pakman Show. Next, I will be joined by President of American Atheists, David Silverman. They've got controversial new billboards. We will talk about those and plenty more coming up. So stay with us, davidpakman.com/membership to sign up.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Joining me is David Silverman, president of American Atheists. David, I've been reading with great interest. CNN and a number of other media outlets are covering what they're calling these controversial billboards that American Atheists have set up. And so why don't we start there? You're targeting specific politicians. Are they all Republicans? Who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them?
Okay, so we're not targeting politicians or Republicans specifically. We're targeting people who use religion for the power of bad. So included in that is Reverend Jim Jeffress, who uses his religion to preach hate against gays under the guise of love. We're including the picture of the now Pope Emeritus, who used his power to cover up pedophiles and hide pedophiles. and we're also hitting Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, and Rick Santorum for their bigoted remarks against atheists and against the American way. We looked for Democrats to kind of even it out, but we really couldn't find any.
So let's go through a couple of the specifics.
It wasn't a gang up on the Republican Party, though.
So with Gingrich, the billboard is "How can I trust you with power if you don't pray?" With Rick Santorum, it's "Our civil laws have to comport with a higher law, God's law." The one I have a question about is the Sarah Palin one. The quote is, "We should create law based on the God of the Bible." But in going back to what she actually said in that interview with Bill O'Reilly, she did say that the founding fathers would create law based on the God of the Bible. So is that a misquote? Have you corrected that?
It is very, very slightly. What she said was, we should do what the founding fathers would do, which would be... so she used the word "should" in the beginning of the sentence.
Gotcha.
But she she should have, if she was grammatically correct, used "should" in her sentence.
So
but
some could say you're
mistake.
misquoting her. Some could say you're just correcting her grammar.
And nobody could say we're misrepresenting what she said, and that's the important point. The exact answer is yes. The quotation marks are misplaced on the billboard, and we'll probably be correcting it. We do admit that this quote has gone. It went through us. It also went through Lamar, the billboard company, and we both agreed that it was a good quote. But it is inside a quote, and I am a bit of a stickler for detail. So while I maintain that the meaning of what she said is exactly what she meant, and I don't think anybody out there would suggest that the meaning of what she said is incorrectly portrayed. It is, however, a quote, and quotes should be exact, so we will be making a change.
So what's the goal of this? I mean, I know you have your 50th anniversary convention coming up, and of course the goal of having billboards is to get attention. I mean, you've said it, and that's what the point of billboards is, but specifically, why did you decide to go after this strategy?
Well, this strategy was given to us by the donor of the billboards who wanted this kind of strategy. But really, I like it a lot because it really enumerates. A lot of people say, well, why do I need to get involved? Why do we need an atheist movement? Well, we need an atheist movement because we have an anti-atheist movement in this country that is actually set on making atheists second-class people. And this is not something for which we should stand, and it's certainly not something for which we should stand even if it's done in the name of religion. It's not okay if somebody is a bigot or somebody is hateful because the Bible says he should be. He's still immoral. The Bible says a lot of things, and you and we all know that you can read anything into the Bible you want.
Sure.
So when a bigot comes out and says, oh, well, I can be bigoted because the Bible is bigoted, well, that has exactly the same relevance as somebody saying, well, I can be good because the Bible says I could be good. It's looking for a place to justify your bigotry. And when Newt Gingrich comes out and says, I can't trust you if basically he said, paraphrasing now, basically he said, I can't trust atheists. And that's a horrible, bigoted, backwards, primitive thing to say. And it's not something that should be excused, and it's not something that should be okay because it's a part of his faith. He is a bigot, and he's using his faith as some sort of a shield against criticism for his bigotry. That's not cool. Jim Jeffress is a bigot.
Isn't it Robert Jeffress?
It could be Robert Jeffress. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking Jim Jeffries. Reverend Jeffress is a bigot. He campaigns against homosexual rights and gay equality. Why? Because of half a sentence in the Old Testament. And he ignores the second half of the sentence. We're talking about Leviticus 20:13. I hope everybody looks it up. God is talking to Moses on Mount Sinai, pretty big time in the Bible. That's when he gives Moses the Ten Commandments. And he says, God says, if a man lies with a man as he lies with a woman, it is an abomination, comma, and he should be stoned to death, and his blood is on his own hands. Now, Reverend Jeffress doesn't say, oh, we should be killing gays because God says we should be killing gays. But he does say that. It is there. And he ignores that, but then he comes out and says, well, we have to have a campaign against homosexuality. What they do is disgusting. You know what? The time in America's life where we have to put up with bigotry in the name of religion is over. And we at American Atheists think that it's time for theists and atheists to call out religion-based bigotry when they see it. And this is it. And we're seeing it. And Rick Santorum is there too. He wants to subjugate American law under God's law.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a Christian version of Sharia law, which he claims to be against, basically.
Exactly. But who determines what God's law is? Oh, wait a minute. I guess he will.
Yeah, Rick Santorum does,
God
obviously.
tells
Yeah.
him what. Oh, and the preachers will. That's going to work out just great. I mean, it works out great all the time in other countries.
Hey, question on the shame thing. Okay, so the end of we have some limited time, so I want to make sure to get this in. The CNN article says that you say the billboards are a way to shame the targets. Now, we talked on my show a couple of months ago about it was some kind of bioethicist who said, in studies, it appears that shaming fat people about being fat may be an effective way to get them to lose weight. And after we ran that story, the feedback was just incredible from people both with and without weight problems saying shame is absolutely not the way to get people on your side or to make changes. Do you think that shame is really going to be the way that we remove bigotry from religion long term?
No, it's not going to remove bigotry from religion long term. It's going to remove people from office long term. This is it's not a good analogy to say shaming people about weight. Being overweight is a medical problem, and
I didn't mean to liken them. I only meant to say the effect of shaming any kind of belief or action.
We want the theists to be shaming these people, and they should feel ashamed of themselves. Whether or not it actually causes Newt Gingrich to change his mind is not the point. We want to make sure that people are shaming him because and recognizing his behavior as shameful, so they never ever vote for a shameful bigot like him again.
So the idea is shaming the people who might elect someone like Gingrich, not shaming Gingrich so he changes his views.
The objective is shaming Gingrich so that people understand why he deserves to be shamed.
Gotcha.
All right. That's what we're going for.
Hey, are you going to be on like O'Reilly or Hannity talking about this? I know they often like to bring you on.
They as soon as they bring me on, they'll let me know. But they know that I'll be if they go on, I'll be plugging the convention. And by the way, the convention is very possibly going to sell out. So if any of your viewers out there want to see A.C. Grayling, Congressman Pete Stark, or J.J. French, the lead guitarist of Twisted Sister, it's going to be a fantastic birthday convention. It's our 50th anniversary. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a pub crawl. We're going to have a costume dinner. So atheists.org is the place to go if you want to get these tickets before they sell out. There are going to be 6 billboards in Austin and 1 in Dallas. The press is picking it up. I am very confident that we're going to sell out this convention. So please, now's a good time.
All right. David Silverman, president of American Atheists, atheist.org. David, thank you as always.
Thank you as always, David. Have a great day.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. We put out a little message on our live stream saying if you sign up for membership during the show, you will skip to the front of the line for membership shout-outs, and 2 people have done that. So I want to say thank you and hello to Jordan Newhook, who is on our live stream right now and signed up for membership, as well as she only goes by just one name. It's like Madonna Lewis, Amber. Amber is a new David Pakman Show member. So thank you to both.
Well, yeah, I hope she's a lot more interesting than Madonna.
You're not interested by Madonna?
No, not at all.
I would assume Amber is pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, most David Pakman Show members are.
That's exactly why I was going to say that. That's exactly why. So thanks to both of them. And we will see you on tomorrow's live stream for more hijinks, I would say.
Hijinks, yeah.
Google Glasses. We've talked about Google Glasses before. Lewis is not a big fan of them. These are the glasses that will have a kind of built-in camera and display so that you can, as you look around, you kind of have a superimposition of your email or whatever. Here is Sergey Brin from Google wearing them. And we have now a lot of new issues as these Google Glasses get closer to being a mainstream thing, if they ever will be, which are privacy issues, which is if you walk around and you see someone with those glasses, are you worried that you are being filmed, and therefore do you behave differently?
No.
You don't care?
Don't care. No, I would not. I would not behave differently unless I was doing something illegal, I suppose.
Ah, that's the argument a lot of people say. Hey, why do I care if I'm being filmed if I'm not doing anything wrong? Natan, isn't this going to bring up a lot of privacy concerns if people are just walking around everywhere? Not that when you walk around New York City, you don't see little bubble cameras everywhere in Times Square. But if you're just having conversations with people who could, that camera may be recording, it may not.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I understand the argument that if you're not doing anything illegal, there's nothing to worry about. But at the same time, I think there's a certain expectation in public, apart from the locations you were talking about, like in the middle of New York City, where you expect that you're not being watched, even though it may be legally, the government may be legally able to do so.
Give me an example.
No, I just think that if you're walking, say you're walking on a side street in a small neighborhood and you're just talking to someone, and for example, if we add to the video some audio, if there were mics around, I think people would react a little more strongly to it. Don't you
Well, the
think?
Google Glasses will have both audio and video recording.
Well, you could easily. Well, you saw The Dark Knight, right? I mean, we definitely don't want to create a situation where we have audio of everyone in the city.
Do you think that this may be a social thing? Like, for example, like Sergey Brin is saying, instead of seeing people constantly buried in their phones, they'll still be reading their email and text messages, but they'll at least be looking at you?
That's just silly.
I think I'm going to have to wait a
They're
little
going
bit.
to be focusing on one of those two things. I don't really think it matters if they happen to be what looks like making eye contact with you while they're reading their email. And also, are we expecting Google Glasses to be banned from strip clubs?
I'm not sure. I mean, how can you legislate this stuff? It's going to become very complicated. And I do see a drop of car accidents while texting if people were using Google Glasses or some other heads-up display.
You see a drop? I see an increase.
Really?
Yeah.
People won't be looking down. You can look straight ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
and
it's
still
about
going to distract them.
It's about
they're gonna
concentration and
they're
where
gonna
you're
think
looking.
it's okay because they're looking straight ahead.
Personally, I'm going to wait a while before I risk sitting on $1,500 glasses. It's bad enough when I crush my two pairs of $100 glasses.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How many people are going to sit on these and break them a day after they get them?
Quite a few. What's your thought on the Google Glasses? Send us an email, comment, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want. Let's get to some of your voicemails. Our voicemail line, 219-2-DAVID-P. Call anytime. Here is a voicemail about arguing over the Bible with people. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, David, in your to reply to your comment that how do you reason with people that believe in a fairy tale fantasy? There's an old saying, at least where I come from, is you can't argue with a drunk. Well, I apply that same thing I've noticed to people who read the Bible, Christians, whatever. You can't argue with them, no matter how much logic you tell them, no matter what you show them. No matter how illogical you show them that things in the Bible are, you can't reason with them. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen. And I always considered my definition of what they call faith is the ability to believe in stupid crap.
Right. I mean, I tend to just avoid having political or religious conversations with people in general off the air. I'm just not interested. I have enough of it here. That's my strategy.
That's a good one.
And here's another voicemail about atheism.
What's up, guys? This is Stifler. I just wanted to rant. I am an atheist, but I haven't experienced these people, but I hear a lot of atheists, they have quotes memorized and books memorized. I mean, it almost seems like there's a form of atheism that's a tribe, and it's almost borderline religion.
We've talked about this before. We have talked many times of, is atheism in itself a type of set of beliefs that could be considered some kind of religion in some way. We've even talked to David Silverman, who was a guest on today's show, about it. It's a broader conversation, but this is certainly not, you're not the only one wondering this, Stifler.
We've also talked about how a lot of atheists know more about the Bible than their Christian counterparts.
That is also true.
Yeah.
That is also true. That is it for today. DavidPakman.com/membership. We will see you back here tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching.
The David Pakman Show at DavidPakman.com.